So good afternoon to all of you. Good afternoon to all of you. We shall be starting now. Vice President, Council of Ministers, and Prime Minister, Attorney General of India. The rest part of question. Rest part of the Union Executive is there. Okay. So we shall be discussing Vice President first. That is the things. Vice President is second to the President of India. In the table of presidents, Vice President assumes second position. In the table of presidents, in the table of presidents, you can say in the table of presidents, VP holds second position. So he is one of the highest dignitaries in India. He comes after the president, and the office is modeled upon the office of the Vice President of United States of America. Vice President is elected one. Article 66 of the Constitution contains elections. Okay, we shall discuss serially. Article 66 contains the Vice President of India. So how is elected? He is elected by an electoral college comprising all members of parliament, all MPs. All MPs means the both elected plus nominated. That is a point to be remembered. He is elected by an electoral college. And there are all MPs. In presidential election, if you remember, the president is elected by the elected members of parliament and elected members of legislative assemblies of the state and union territories. But in this case, only the members of parliament, that too, all MPs means elected and nominated. Basis of election is proportional representation. By means of single transferable vote system, vote with secret ballot. So the same procedure is maintained. as it is maintained in case of president. So he is elected by an electoral college on the basis of proportional representation by means of single transferable vote system. That is also a logic to be remembered. Who conducts the election of the president? That is vice president. The Election Commission of India. And like the president, the vice president elections to be proposed, there are proposers and nominators. You can see on the screen that there are 20 proposers and 20 electors as seconders for the vice presidential candidate. And each candidate has to make a deposit of 15,000 with RBI that will be refunded if the candidate possesses 1/6 of the valid votes. Less than that, his money will be forfeited. So it's 20 electors, 20 proposers, seconders. In case of president, it is 50 and 50. Is that clear? So he's elected by an electoral college. Okay. And everything we have discussed about elections, yes. Now, what are the qualifications to become a vice president? The qualification is that he or she must be a citizen of India, number two, he or she must have attained 35 years or above. Number three, he or she must have the qualifications to become a member of Rajya Sabha. He must have the qualification to become a member of Rajya Sabha. It doesn't have to be a member. He is not required to be a member. Rather, he is required to have the qualifications. There are differences. He is not a member. Vice President is not a member of either Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. And apart from that, there are conditions. If you talk about that he should not hold any office of profit. He should not hold any office of profit. Okay, so he should not hold any office of profit. If he holds any office of profit under government of India or government of any state, then he has to vacate. But his office, the vice presidential office, is free from or exempted from office of profit. That means a vice president can contest in the election without resigning, without resignation. So these are the qualifications. Then after being elected, he is given oath by president or his nominee, by the president, or anybody after president is the CJI who will administer oath. The term of vice presidential office term is 5 years, fixed. Term of vice president is fixed. That is also a point to be remembered. And the salary of the vice president is rupees 4 lakh that is charged upon charged upon the consolidated fund of India. That means it is a non-votable expenditure. It cannot be reduced. Salary. So the salary is charged upon the consolidated fund of India, and he is entitled to not entitled to any post retirement benefits. That is called the term of the that is salary of the vice president. The term of the vice president is present in Article 67. Okay. Okay, 69 में oath and affirmation होता है. Article 69 contains oath and affirmation of the vice president. So these are the things. Then vacancy. Tenure we have already discussed. Emoluments we have already discussed for like oath and affirmation, term of office and removal, vacancy. So term we have already discussed. Term of office. Term is provided in Article 67. 67 contains term of office. So we shall discuss also the removal. So in that case, it is mentioned in Article 67 that Vice President will be removed. Removal is also Article 67. The VP is to be removed by a resolution moved in and passed by Rajya Sabha Rajya Sabha by effective majority that is majority of the then members. Then members means existing members of Rajya Sabha and approved by Lok Sabha. Lok Sabha will approve it in simple majority. Simple majority. That is also a provision. However, he is removed by the parliament. So that means he is removed by the parliament, not by the president, not by Rajya Sabha alone, but by both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. That is mentioned. That is the thing about the parliament. Hello. No, no, start out, sir. Right. Okay, so parliament consists of the parliament consists of the parliament Lok Sabha Rajya Sabha, and that is simple majority and absolute majority. That is term and removal. Next we shall go to the vacancy. How does vacancy arrive? Vacancy may arrive in the office of the president on the expiry of his tenure 5 years. He can tender resignation to the president, and he is removed as we have already discussed, and his death also lead to vacancy. And first vice president, only vice president that died in office was Krishna Kant. But in case of expiry of his tenure of 5 years, the vice president may continue his office until the successor resumes office. So that can be possible. In case of expiry of his term, if the new vice president has not been elected, then the sitting vice president or the outgoing vice president may continue in his office until the new. But in no case, the period of vacancy shall exceed 6 months. In no case, in no case, the period of vacancy shall exceed 6 months. There must be. But there is no provision for appointing anyone during the vacancy as the president. So there is no term for acting vice president of India. That it may remain vacant for 6 months in case, but there must be an election within 6 months to fill up the vacancy. That is called the vacancy. Then powers and functions of Rajya Sabha. Vice President. Remember, Vice President is not provided with substantial powers. Vice President is not provided with substantial powers and positions. He is not like the President. Although President is somewhat, you can say that is a nominal head, but he has certain power, influential role to play in the body politic. But Vice President does not have the role, any substantial role to play in the body politic. Is devoid of any substantial power. Sometimes the analysts call him as a superfluous highness. Superfluous, superfluous highness. So he has nothing to do. He has limited powers. The basic powers and functions of the vice president can be segmented into two types. One is the ex officio chairman of the Rajya Sabha, another is he holds office as the acting president of India. This is the only powers that exercise. He is the ex officio chairman of the vice president, Rajya Sabha. He is the ex officio chairperson as vice president, as the American vice president is the ex officio chairperson of Senate. So the vice president of India is the ex officio chairperson of Rajya Sabha, that is mentioned in Article 64. So in the capacity of the chairman, he has lot of power. He has a lot of power. We can distinguish his powers on this case. Chairperson of Rajya Sabha. He presides over the house. He presides over the house. Number two, he maintains discipline. That is also a point of remember. He maintains discipline and decorum. Maintains discipline decorum in the house. Number three, he has casting votes. He has casting votes. Number four, he appoints. Casting vote means that is he votes when there is an equal number of votes on a particular bill. তারপরে appoints committees or appoints chairperson of the chairpersons of committees of Rajya Sabha. So there are also he is the ex-officio chairperson of General Purpose Committee, Business Advisory Committee, and Rules Committee. Different names. Okay, Vice President is the chairperson of the Business Advisory Committee and the Rules Committee and that is Business Advisory Committee and General Purpose Committee. So he is also the chairperson of that, and he can suspend a member, he can take disciplinary action against a member. He's like the speaker. Everything that is assigned to the speaker in Lok Sabha is assigned to the vice president, except two things that is not performed by the vice president, that he cannot certify a bill as money bill and he doesn't preside over the joint sitting. Apart from that, he enjoys all the rights of the presiding officer of the house. When Vice President serves as the acting President of India, the House is chaired by the Deputy Chairman of Rajya Sabha. So, in this capacity, he is given a substantial power in case of as a Vice Official Chairperson of Rajya Sabha. Another notable powers of the Vice President is he holds office as the acting President of India. This provision is inspired by the American Constitution, where it is provided that in case there is a vacancy in the office of the president, then the vice president will take over as the president immediately, and he will continue for the rest of the term. That is in America. But in case of India, that is the same provision is adopted. The vice president shall assume office when there is a vacancy in the office of the president. However, unlike the American vice president, Indian vice president will continue as the acting president of India only for a maximum period of 6 months. Beyond 6 months, it's not possible. And within 6 months, there must be an election to the office of the president. So the term of the acting president of India is maximum 6 months. In fact, when Vice President serves as the acting President of India, he enjoys all the powers and privileges of the President. He can take up any action like the President. He has got right to assent, right to everything that is assigned to the President. But his maximum period of survival in the office of the President is 6 months. But there is that is the difference between the Vice President of America and Vice President of India. Vice President of America become the president for the rest of the term. The term of American president is 4 years, and if the president of America resigns or dies or is removed, then the vice president will take over as the president for the rest of the term. Even after 1 day or 1 month or 1 year, if it happens, then it is the vice president who will take over the president. No election will be held. So these are the important powers of the Vice President of India. There are two divisions, and the acting president is provided under Article 65. So that is the things. Apart from that, government of India can assume can assign any power to the vice president. He can be the chancellor of various central universities. He is the chancellor of the Punjab University. So there are certain things it can be given. And there are the articles. There shall be vice president of India. Article 63. 64 is the ex officio chairman. 65 is acting president. 66 election of the president. Baki 67 koithili term. 69 oath. So there are several articles provided for the vice president. Now let us have a brief look at the list of vice president in India. We have so far have that is your 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, this 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 vice presidents so far. And look at the vice president, first vice president S. Radhakrishnan and Zakir Hussain Bharagiri. These vice presidents have become presidents. They have become president. After becoming vice president, they become president. And B.D. Jati, Gopal Saru Pathak, Justice Hidayatullah, they did not become president. And the rest three, Shankar Dayal, R.B. Venkatraman, Shankar Dayal Sharma and K.R. Narayanan, they became president. Krishnakant, Bhairav Singh Shekhawat, Muhammad Ansari, they become president. They did not become president. Become press. So you can see there is an interesting correlation in this case. The first three became president, the next three did not become president, the next three became president, and the last three vice president did not become presidents. Okay, and in case of your that is Hidayatullah is the only chief justice, only CJI to become president, to become vice president, and he also served as the acting president in 69. And the first acting president of India is B.B. Giri, first acting president. Krishnakant was the first president to die, I have told you, towards the end of his term. So you can now guess that six presidents have become six vice presidents, six VPs have become presidents. Then eight presidents became presidents without becoming vice presidents. So only six vice presidents have become presidents in India, and other presidents were not vice president before they became vice president. So that is also a point to be remembered with regards to our question pattern. Alright, so these are the vice president. Now we shall go to the Prime Minister of India. The Prime Minister of India. The Prime Minister is the de facto sovereign ruler of India. Is the de facto sovereign ruler of India. Is the head of the government. In a parliamentary democracy, the Prime Minister is vested with immense powers and privileges. And these powers and privileges become huge when the prime minister or the ruling government, the ruling party has comfortable majority in the legislature, in the union legislature. If the prime minister party or political party, the ruling party has a comfortable majority in Lok Sabha, then the prime minister enjoys immense powers and privileges, and he can become a democratic despot at that point of time. Hence, sometimes parliamentary government is termed as prime ministerial government because of the domination of prime minister in the government system. The prime minister, if he is a wise and that is a wise and experienced politicians, he can have a command over the government. The government will be controlled by him. Hence, Greaves was right to say, H.R. Greaves was right to say that he is the master of the government, and government is the master of the country, and he is the master of the government. But the prime ministers, the constitution doesn't spend much space for the duties or for anything related to prime minister. The prime minister is mentioned in chapter 1 of the, that is your part 5, and he is not mentioned well mentioned in the constitution. It's because the presidential powers and privileges are exercised by the prime minister. All the powers, privileges that are vested in the president are really exercised by the vice president, by the prime minister. Prime minister holds third rank. He holds rank 3 in the table of precedence. He holds rank 3 in the table of precedence after vice president. Then what are the qualifications to be appointed as vice president, the prime minister of India? What are the qualifications that are there to be there? What are the qualifications of the vice president? Interestingly, constitution doesn't mention about any specific qualifications of the prime minister. Only it is said that he should be, or she must be, he or she must be a member of parliament. Member of parliament means member of either house of parliament. It is a deviation from the British principle practice. In Great Britain or in the UK, the vice president must be a member of the lower house. But in India, it is not so bad. The the prime minister, in Great Britain, the prime minister is to be a member of lower house. But in India, that is not. It is provided that my prime minister can be a member of either house, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, and we have had 3 prime ministers from Rajya Sabha, that is Indira Gandhi, Deva Gowda, and Manmohan Singh. Indira Gandhi in 1966, so 3 prime ministers, 3 PMs from Rajya Sabha, 3 prime ministers from Rajya Sabha, that is Indira Gandhi, in 1966, and your जोटा रहा आमर 1966 रे आ गोटे रहा आमर देवगौड़ा एस डी देवगौड़ा 1996 आ मनमोहन सिंह 2004. So these prime ministers were from Rajya Sabha. That is also a point to be remembered. And most of the prime ministers are from Lok Sabha, but it is a provision. Another thing, whether prime minister is required to be a member at the time of appointment or not. No, he is not required to be a member. He is not required to be a member of parliament at the time of is not required to be a member of parliament at the time of appointment. He can be a member after being appointment, but if he is appointed as prime minister without being a member of parliament, then he has to secure a seat. However, he or she is must secure a seat in either house within 6 months from the date of such appointment. Okay, so that is also a condition to be remembered. That is also a point to be remembered. That the by president, the prime minister is not required to be a member of parliament at the time of appointment. However, he must secure a seat within the. So it also implies that it also gives us an idea that prime minister is appointed, not elected. So that is also a point that okay. So that is the there. Then appointment of the prime minister. Appointment. He is appointed by the president. But the question arises whether vice president, the appointment of the by prime minister is the discretionary power of the president or non-discretionary power. Whether president appoints, does the appointment at his discretion, or he is bound by any convention or any constitutional obligations. Both are right. Both are right. The president is bound by parliamentary convention that he has to appoint or invite the leader of the largest legislative party in parliament. He has to the president has to appoint the leader of the largest legislative party in Lok Sabha as the leader of the largest legislative party in Lok Sabha as the Prime Minister as per Parliamentary Convention. Parliamentary Convention. That is parampara. However, in case of Hong Lok Sabha, the president so therefore in case of Hong Assembly Lok Sabha, the president appoints the PM at his own discretion. In 1979, for the first time, in 1979, President Nilam Sanjeev Reddy, the sixth president of India, appointed Charan Singh as the prime minister. Appointed Charan Singh as the prime minister. And Nilam Sanjeev Reddy appointed Charan Singh. The fall of government and asked him that is also a point to be remembered. There is also one more situation that when Indira Gandhi was assassinated in 1984, President Jal Singh appointed Rajiv Gandhi as the Prime Minister by ignoring the precedent of appointing caretaker Prime Minister. Okay, so that was a deviation at the point of time. In 1984, when Indira Gandhi was assassinated by its own security guards, personal security guards, Rajiv Gandhi was appointed as the full-fledged Prime Minister of India by President Gyani Jail Singh, whereas the convention suggested that there must he had to appoint a caretaker government and then full-fledged. After Rajiv Gandhi was elected, appointed as the Prime Minister, he was elected later by the parliamentary party or legislative party as the leader of the largest party, legislative party. That is also a point to be remembered. Appointment of the Prime Minister. 79. These are instances. So what can we infer, what can we conclude from this point of view? That the appointment of the Prime Minister is both discretion and non-discretion, and in 1980 Delhi High Court held that the person does not require to be the member of Rajya Sabha at the time of appointment, Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha. The President may appoint the Prime Minister first, then ask him to prove the majority. That has happened for any time. Charan Singh 79, VP Singh 89, Chandrasekhar 90, PB Narasimha 91, AB Vajpayee 96, Devagowda 96, IK Gujral 97, AB Vajpayee 1998. So what does it mean? That can the President appoint the Prime Minister as first, then ask him to prove the majority? The answer is yes, he can appoint. And after appointing him, he may ask him to prove his majority, and that took place in terms in case in 1979, in 1989 BP Singh, and in 1990 Chandrasekhar, in 1991 BP Narasimha Rao, in case of 1996 AB Vajpayee, and also HD Daboda in 1996, IK Gujral 1997, AB Vajpayee again in 1998. So there have been multiple number of instances where the Prime Minister is first appointed, then he is asked to the things. Okay, get the things. As I told you, unlike Great Britain, Prime Minister of India can be a member of either house. We had already three Prime Ministers since the inception of the constitutions. That is a good idea about a detailed idea about the appointment of the Prime Minister. Then oath and term. Oath and term. He is administered oath by the president. Is administered oath by the Prime Minister to bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of India. He swears to bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of India, to uphold the sovereignty and integrity of India, to faithfully and conscientiously discharge the duties of the office, and to write to all manner of people in accordance with the Constitution, law, without fear or favor, affection or ill. In his oath of secrecy, the Prime Minister swears that he will not directly or indirectly communicate or reveal to any person any matter that is brought under his considerations or becomes known to him as a Union Minister, except as may be. So that is the condition of the Vice President, a Prime Minister. Oath and oath and affirmation is given, and in his oath he takes a lot of things we have already discussed. Then the term of the Prime Minister is not fixed. So term is not fixed, and he holds office during the pleasure of the President. But the question arises whether the President can remove him whether the president can remove him instantaneously or anytime he wants. No, the president cannot remove the prime minister until he enjoys majority in the Lok Sabha. Cannot be dismissed by the president. However, if he loses majority in the house, he can be removed. He can be removed by the president. So that is also a point to be remembered that although prime minister holds office during the pleasure of the president, it is not that the president will remove him at any time or at any point of time at any time he wants. He will not do so until he enjoys the prime minister as a comfortable majority in the parliament in the Lok Sabha. And another notable factor is that another notable factor is that if he loses, if his ruling, the ruling party loses no confidence motion, then the president may remove him at any point of time. And the salary and other these things are not mentioned. In fact, prime minister gets the salary of an MP, and except that he also is allowed also certain allowances by the prime minister, by the parliament. All right. So that is the things, and remember that a person can be reappointed as the prime minister of India for any term, as many terms as he can. These are the things, as many terms as he can. Then that is your oath, term, regulation, and then we shall move to certain articles related to prime minister. But after that, we shall move to the article that is the powers and positions of the article 74 says that there shall be a council of ministers in accordance with such advice. আচ্ছা এটা ওটা বলা জিনিসটা however the president And the president shall act in accordance with the advice tendered so look at the text of the thing that there shall be a council of minister with the prime minister as the head to aid and advise the president who shall in exercise of his functions act in accordance with such advice. But whether president will send for reconsideration was not there. It was added by 42nd amendment that the president may refer a matter for reconsideration of the council of minister and the president shall act in accordance with the advice tendered after such request. He has no option but to accept. He can send it back for reconsideration only for once, not time and again. Not time and again he can send it back. That is also a point to be remembered. Article 74. And in 75, there are various factors. 75. One can assume that appointment of prime minister is mentioned in Article 75. Prime Minister and also the appointment of other ministers, the Council of Ministers, on the advice of the PM, it is also mentioned there. Collective responsibility, of the Council of Ministers headed by PM to the Lok Sabha. We shall examine, we shall understand what is the meaning of collective responsibility. It is mentioned in Article 75. Individual responsibility, individual responsibility of the ministers to the president. These are all mentioned in Article 75 of the Constitution. These are all mentioned in the Article 75 of the Constitution. It is a hallmark article and it is the base article or the central article of parliamentary form of government in India. If we abolish this article from these articles 74, 75, then we may have a presidential form of government. I think so. All of you agree that it can be. Okay, that is 75. Kindly remember all these points. Okay, now we shall go to 78. Alright, 78 of the Constitution. 78 is it shall be the duty, it shall be the duty of the PM to communicate to the President. Whose duty? The Prime Minister's duty. To the President, all decisions of the Council of Ministers relating to administration and affairs of the Union and proposal for legislation. All decisions of the Council of Ministers related to governance, we can say, or administration of affairs and legislation, which bill is to be prepared, which bill is to be introduced, which bill is to be discussed, to furnish such information relating to administration, relating to as the President furnishes, as the President may call for, as the President may ask for. Number C. He may to submit the matter for reconsideration by the Council of Ministers, which has been taken by a single minister but not considered by the cabinet. Single minister. If any decision has been taken by a single minister but has not been considered by the cabinet, here council of minister means cabinet. If it has not been considered by the cabinet, then it is the duty of the prime minister. It is the duty of the president. If the president so requires, the president so requires, he may submit for the reconsideration, and it is the prime minister has to comply with that. So these are the central, you can say, the pivotal constitutional provisions related to prime minister. These are the central one, these are the vital one. Okay, we shall discuss the powers and the privileges. Powers and the privileges of the prime minister. These articles are relationship with the prime minister. Prime minister's relationship with the president. Okay. And another notable things that I need to tell you that powers of the Prime Minister we shall discuss gradually. The powers of the Prime Minister. I have mentioned everything in the file in the screen. You can see. But broadly, the Prime Minister's power can be classified, can be considered, can be divided, classified as his powers in relation to council of ministers, his powers in relation to the parliament, in his powers in relation to the president and other functions. If you categorize the powers of the prime minister, they can be subdivided into three, four segments. One is his powers in relation to the president, his powers in relation to the parliament, his powers in relation to the council of ministers, and his other powers. In relation to the prime minister, council of minister, he has a lot of powers to perform. He recommends persons who can be appointed as ministers by the president. The president has to that is appoint those persons as ministers which have been suggested by the prime minister in the list. He doesn't have any power to drop any name from the list, so it is a power. And the prime minister allocates portfolio, that is distributes work, exactly distributes work, but it's allocates portfolios among the ministers. It is the prerogative of the prime minister to allocate the portfolios. No one can interfere, no one can have a say, have a voice over the decision. It is the sole decision of the prime minister. That is also a good point. He can ask a minister to resign or may advise the president to sack him, to remove him. He presides over the meeting of the cabinet or council of ministers. He guides, directs, controls, coordinates the activities of the ministers. He can bring about collapse of the government by resigning from office. Another major point. He can bring about the collapse of the government by by resigning from office. So these are the powers with regards to in relation to council of ministers. Is that clear? So I told you that the powers of the prime minister can be broadly classified into three segments. Major. One is his power in relation to the council of minister, in relation to the president, in relation to the you can say in relation to the what in relation to the president, parliament, and your council of ministers, and there are other functions too. So these are the powers of the prime minister in relation to council of ministers. Kindly remember, there are lots of powers of the prime minister in relation to the council of ministers. We have discussed it to the maximum extent possible. We have discussed it. That is also a point. He can bring collapse. Since the prime minister stands at the head of the council of ministers, other minister cannot function when the prime minister resigns or dies. The resignation or death of an incumbent prime minister automatically dissolves the council of ministers and thereby generates a vacuum political backing. So that therefore is called primus inter pares. It's called primus inter pares. That was British Prime Minister Tom. It's called primus inter pares. Okay. That is, it is told by who described Lord Morley. Lord Morley termed him primus inter pares, means is the first among equals. He is central, is pivotal to the survival and sustenance of the government or the Council of Ministers. The resignation of ministers does not lead to collapse of the government, whereas the resignation or death of the Prime Minister leads to collapse of the government with immediate effect. Hence, he is called primus inter pares. He is a minister, but he is fast. His death and resignation necessarily or invariably leads to collapse of the government. So he has a central role, he has a pivotal role, he has an income that is called enviable position in the political system of our country. Then with regards to his relationship with the president, is the principal channel of the communication between the Council of Minister and President. Is the principal channel of communication. That means whatever the official communication is made between Minister and the President, it is under the auspices of the Prime Minister. He communicates all decisions to the presidents under Article 78, as we have already discussed, relating to the administration of the Council of administration of the affairs of the Union Government and proposals of legislation. All these matters are communicated to the President by the Prime Minister. It is also a power. If the President so requires, he may submit a decision taken by an individual minister for the reconsideration of the cabinet. That is also a point to be remembered. He advises the president with regards to the appointment of important officials like the chair, that is the Attorney General of India, Comptroller and Auditor General of India, Chief Election Commissioners, Chairman and members of UPSC, Chairman and members of various national commissions like National Commission for SC, ST and other backward classes. So these are the important powers of Prime Minister in relation to the President. He advises the President to issue making appointment of important officers that we call, that is Attorney General and Attorney General of India, then Comptroller Auditor General, EPSC Chairperson and members, National Commissions on SC, ST, OBC, National Commissions. So all these appointments are made by the President on the advice of the Prime Minister. He advises the President to dissolve Lok Sabha. He plays a leading role in making policy statement as the preparation of annual budget. He is the leader of the House. You can also add that point. That is the leader of the House. Leader of Lok Sabha, we can say. Or if he is a member, then he is the leader of the Lok Sabha. If he is a member of Rajya Sabha, even he serves as the leader of the Lok Sabha. Is the ex officio chairperson. Then another powers that is mentioned also, that he advises the president. He can recommend dissolution. He announce government policies on the floor. All right. Then he is the ex officio chairperson of various cabinet committees. Cabinet committees are important bodies for decision making in our country. There are several cabinet committees which take ultimate decisions. Prime Minister is the ex officio chairperson of certain cabinet committees like Committees Appointment, Committee on Political Affairs, Committee on Economic Affairs, Committee on Employment and Skill Development, Committee on Economic Development and Investment. These committees were established by this government recently. So 1 and 2. And so in overall, Prime Minister is the ex officio chairperson of 5 cabinet committees. Kindly remember these committees, cabinet committees are there, and he announces government policies on the floor of the house, means whatever he declares the government policies on the floor of the house, whatever new policies are there. Then he is the chairman of the Planning Commission, National Development Council, Interstate Council, and National Disaster Management Authority. National Disaster Management Authority, National Security Council, is the chief architect of the foreign policy of the government of India. Is the chief architect. His outlook, his farsightedness, his wisdom is reflected in the foreign policy. So, foreign policy of India differs from government to government because it changes with the direction, wisdom, knowledge, experience, farsightedness of the Prime Minister. He is the chairperson of various bodies. He used to be the chairperson of Planning Commission. Now he is the chairperson of Niti Aayog, NDC, Interstate Council, National Disaster Management Authority, National Security Council, National Integration Council, Integral Council, Department of Atomic Energy, Department of Space, Space, it is headed by the Prime Minister, he is the ex officio chairperson, and National Water Resources Council chairperson is the Prime Minister. So various bodies, Niti Aayog, NDC, Interstate Council, NDMA, National Security Council, National Integrated Council, National Water Resources Council, Department of Atomic Energy, Department of Space, and various other bodies, NAC, National Advisory Councils, is the chief architect of foreign policy. Okay, so these are the powers of the Prime Minister, and we have discussed a lot of things regarding the powers. And remember, you can classify them into 3 segments. One is the relations to President, relations to Prime Minister, relations to Council of Ministers. Now other powers में हमने देखा कि plays a significant role in foreign policy, chairperson of various bodies, and he is the chief spokesman of the union government. So invariably, it possesses all the powers to govern the country. In fact, the powers mentioned in the name of the president are exercisable by the Prime Minister. So next class we shall be discussing. I hope that these classes are going on well with all of you. Banik has made certain important steps, taken important steps to reach and to attend all of you. Those who are away from the centers can avail these classes for preparation of civil service examination, especially related to OPSC. We are conducting the classes in the way we are conducting in our offline classes. We are going detail, and we are also discussing various questions and answer on each chapter. So please kindly avail this class and communicate to your friends and those who are interested to pursue civil service coaching. You can avail yourself this opportunity. Okay. So thank you. Let me close the class. We shall be next class. We shall be starting with quotations on Prime Minister. Quotations on Prime Minister, then certain Prime Minister's office, then list of Prime Minister. We shall have an analysis. Then we shall move to Central Council of Minister and Attorney General also. After then we'll complete this chapter. All right. So thank you very much for watching us. Let it's there. So you can end stream. Okay, so see you again next week with from the quotations on Prime Minister. Thank you very much, Paul. Hello. Yeah.